Commander Velrin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, and watched the small blue planet rotate below. Earth, they called it. Another primitive world. Another easy victory to add to his record. In his 40 years of service to the Zarketh Dominion, he had conquered 14 species. This would be number 15. "Sir, we've detected 43 defense platforms orbiting the planet," reported his tactical officer. "Primitive kinetic weapons, some basic energy shields. Nothing that poses a threat to our fleet," Velrin smiled. 300 warships against 43 platforms. The humans didn't stand a chance. He had brought a standard pacification force, the same size fleet he used for every conquest. It was always enough. "Open a communication channel to their leadership," Velrin ordered. "Let's get this over with quickly." On Earth, deep beneath the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, Secretary General Elena Volkov sat in the Emergency Command Center. Around her, screen showed the alien fleet hanging in space like deadly ornaments. Military advisors argued in hushed voices. Scientists tried to analyze the alien technology. Politicians debated surrender terms. Elena sat quietly, her hands folded on the table. She had been expecting this day for years. Humanity had always known that reaching for the stars might draw attention. They just hoped it would be friendly attention. The communication request came through. Elena nodded to her technical team. A face appeared on the screen, alien but recognizable. 2 eyes, a mouth, features arranged differently but similar enough. The creature spoke and the translation software worked perfectly. "I am Commander Velrin of the Zarketh Dominion. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our empire. Surrender immediately and your people will be treated fairly. Resist and you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond." The channel closed. The room erupted in noise. Generals demanded they fight. Diplomats begged for negotiation. Scientists said resistance was impossible. Elena raised her hand. The room fell silent. "Open a channel back to them," she said quietly. "Broadcast on all frequencies. I want every ship in that fleet to hear this." Her staff hesitated, then obeyed. Elena looked directly at the camera, her face calm but sad. "Commander Velrin, I am Secretary General Elena Volkov of Earth. I am sending this message to you and to every member of your fleet. We have one thing to say to you." She paused, taking a deep breath. "Leave now. Go back to your empire. Forget you ever found us. This is not a threat. This is not pride. This is a warning given in mercy. You don't understand what you're doing. You don't know what we are. Please, for the sake of your people, leave now while you still can." On the Eternal Conquest, Velrin's officers burst into laughter. The tactical officer wiped tears from his eyes. "Sir, did they just warn us? They have 43 platforms. We have 300 dreadnoughts." Velrin chuckled, but something in the human female's eyes bothered him. She hadn't looked afraid. She looked sad. Pitying even. "Perhaps they don't understand how outmatched they are," Velrin said. "Show them. Destroy their defense platforms. All of them." The Dominion fleet opened fire. Earth's orbital defenses fought back, but it was like throwing stones at a mountain. One by one, the platforms exploded. Within 3 hours, Earth had no orbital defense left. "Sir, we're intercepting human military communications," the intelligence officer reported. "Should I translate?" "Yes, let's hear their panic," Velrin said. The officer's face went pale as he listened. "Sir, they're not panicking. They're evacuating." "Good. At least they're smart enough to flee before we land." "No, sir, you don't understand. They're not evacuating civilians. They're evacuating their soldiers. From the cities, moving them out into the countryside and mountains." Velrin frowned. "That makes no sense. Why would they evacuate their military from defensible positions?" Another message came through, this time from Earth's military command. Admiral Chen Wei appeared on screen, his face grim. "Commander Velrin, you were warned. You chose not to listen. I am authorized to inform you that Earth has activated Amber Protocol. We are withdrawing all military personnel from population centers. What happens next is on you." The transmission ended. Velrin felt a strange chill. "What is Amber Protocol?" he asked his intelligence staff. They searched their databases. "Unknown, sir. The humans have no record of it in any public database. It seems to be deeply classified." "Probably some meaningless ceremony," Velrin said, pushing away his doubt. "Prepare ground forces. We land in 12 cities simultaneously. Standard occupation procedure." In Geneva, Elena Volkov closed her eyes as she signed the authorization. Around her, hardened military officers looked sick. Amber Protocol confirmed, Admiral Chen said quietly. May God forgive us. Not God, Elena whispered. We're the ones who'll need to forgive ourselves. We tried to warn them. The Dominion landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere. 12 cities were selected for simultaneous invasion. New York, London, Beijing, Mumbai, São Paulo, Lagos, Moscow, Tokyo, Sydney, Cairo, Mexico City, and Istanbul. The plan was simple. Take the major population centers, and the humans would have no choice but to surrender. The first troops landed at dawn. Zarkith soldiers marched through empty streets, their weapons ready. The cities were eerily quiet. No resistance. No civilians. Just empty buildings and silent roads. This is too easy, muttered Lieutenant Krell, a young soldier on his first campaign. He had been told humans were primitive but fierce. Where was everyone? Maybe they all ran away, his squad leader said. The smart ones always do. They moved deeper into the city. The sun climbed higher. Reports from other landing zones were similar. No contact, no resistance, cities abandoned. Then the sun began to set. The first attack came in Mumbai. A Dominion patrol simply disappeared. One moment they were reporting in, the next moment their signals went dead. When reinforcements arrived, they found only empty streets and puddles of blood. In Beijing, snipers opened fire from impossible distances. Dominion soldiers who had trained on garden worlds with gentle gravity couldn't understand how humans could shoot so accurately from so far away. In New York, the sewers became death traps. Dominion troops pursuing a human contact would enter the underground tunnels and never emerge. By midnight, every landing zone was reporting the same thing. Heavy casualties, no enemy sightings, constant attacks from unknown directions. They're hunting us, Krell whispered to his squad. Like animals hunt prey. Commander Velrin watched the reports pile up on his desk. 500 soldiers dead in the first day. Not from conventional warfare. From ambushes, traps, and invisible attacks in the darkness. Get me everything we have on this planet, he ordered. I want to know what we're fighting. His intelligence team worked through the night. What they found made Velrin's blood run cold. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was 30% higher than standard. The atmosphere was toxic to most species without filters. 78% of the surface was hostile to non-adapted life. The ecosystem was based entirely on predation. With every species evolved to kill or be killed, and humans sat at the top of that food chain. Sir, his intelligence officer said, his voice shaking. I found something else. A buried report from 200 years ago. A scout ship visited this system. Only one crew member survived to report back. Velrin read the report and understood why the human had looked so sad when she warned him. He had made a terrible mistake. The old scout report was buried deep in the Dominion archives, marked as unreliable testimony from traumatized personnel. Commander Velrin read it 3 times, each time feeling his confidence drain away. Subject world shows signs of advanced civilization but remains in constant state of warfare. Planetary survey detected radiation signatures from multiple nuclear detonations. Initial assessment: civilization destroying itself. Investigation revealed detonations were deliberate, used as weapons against their own species. Death toll estimated at 100 million individuals. Velrin's hands trembled as he continued reading. This species has fought 2 global conflicts they call world wars. Not conflicts between nations, but wars that consume their entire planet. They survived both. Recommendation: quarantine and avoid contact. Any species that wages war against itself at this scale and survives is too dangerous to engage. The report had been filed and forgotten. Some bureaucrat decided that no species could be as dangerous as the scout claimed. They were wrong. On the ground, Lieutenant Krell was learning exactly how wrong they were. His squad was pinned down in what humans called Moscow. They had taken shelter in a large building, trying to wait for dawn. Night was when the humans were most active. They can see in the dark, whispered Private Jean, his eyes wide with fear. How can they see in the dark? They can't, Krell said, though he wasn't sure. They're using technology. A sound echoed through the empty building. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, moving closer. Krell raised his weapon, his hands sweating inside his gloves. A human appeared at the end of the hallway. Female, small by human standards, wearing simple black clothing. No armor, no visible weapons. She looked at them calmly. Leave now. she said in accented but clear Zarketh. This is your last chance. Krell's squad leader fired. The energy bolt should have hit her center mass. Somehow she wasn't there anymore. She had moved impossibly fast. The bolt hit empty air, then she was moving. Krell barely saw her as she closed the distance. His squad leader went down, throat cut. Private John raised his weapon. She took it from him like an adult taking a toy from a child, then struck him once. He didn't get up. Krell found himself on his back, the human's knife at his throat. She could have killed him. Should have killed him. Instead, she leaned close. I was Spetsnaz, she said quietly. Special Forces. I learned to kill when I was 18 years old. Every human soldier has trained for war. We don't have a choice on this world. Everything here wants to kill us, so we learn to kill first. Go home, young one, before you learn what real war means. She was gone before he could respond, vanishing into the darkness like a ghost. Back on his flagship, Velrin received the casualty reports. 2,000 dead in 3 days. His ground forces controlled only the immediate landing zones. Everything else belonged to the humans. Sir, we need reinforcements, his tactical officer said. The humans are using guerrilla warfare tactics. They strike and disappear. We can't engage them in open battle. Velrin's pride wouldn't let him admit defeat. Request the Hammer Fleet from High Command. 5,000 ships. We'll bombard their positions from orbit until they surrender. Sir, that will kill millions of civilians. They should have surrendered when they had the chance. The request went through. 3 days later, the Hammer Fleet arrived. 5,000 warships, enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Surely now the humans would surrender. Instead, humanity's response was immediate and devastating. Something launched from the outer edges of Earth's solar system. The Dominion sensors barely detected them. They were moving at a significant fraction of light speed, too fast to intercept. 3 Dominion staging worlds, far from Earth, each hosting millions of Zarketh civilians and military personnel. The relativistic projectiles hit all 3 worlds within hours of each other. The kinetic energy was unimaginable. Each impact released more force than 1,000 nuclear weapons. The worlds didn't just burn, they shattered. 7 billion Zarketh citizens died before the Empire even knew they were under attack. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 1,000 species gathered to discuss the crisis. Many had never even heard of Earth before. The Dominion ambassador stood before them trying to explain. We were conducting a standard incorporation operation. The humans refused to surrender. They attacked our staging worlds without warning. An old voice echoed through the chamber and every species fell silent. The Vin Collective had not spoken in the council for over 1,000 years. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, predating even the Dominion. You invaded a preserved world, the Vrin elder said. You absolute fools, a preserved? The Dominion ambassador looked confused. We have no record of any preservation order for that system. Because it was not an order, the Vrin said. It was a choice. 200,000 years ago, we discovered humanity's ancestors. We watched them evolve. We saw what they were becoming. We tried to make contact once, 50,000 years in your past. The elder's form shifted, showing images on screens around the chamber. Primitive humans still using stone tools facing Vrin ambassadors. They rejected us, not out of fear, but out of pride. They wanted to reach the stars on their own terms. We respected that choice. We also feared it. We knew what they were. What are they? Someone asked. Apex predators who learned to hunt each other. They evolved on a world so hostile that merely surviving requires constant adaptation. Their entire civilization is built on conflict. They have traits that no other species in the galaxy has combined in one being. The Vrin listed them. Endurance that allowed them to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Intelligence that let them plan complex strategies. Social bonds that made them fight harder for their pack than for themselves. Tool use so advanced they could create weapons from anything. Pattern recognition that made them learn from every encounter. But most dangerous, the Vrin said, is their persistence. Humans do not give up, ever. If you wound them, they will heal and come back stronger. If you defeat them, they will learn from their mistakes. If you kill their people, they will remember forever and seek justice. The Dominion ambassador's face had gone pale. We've already killed thousands of them. Destroyed their orbital defenses. Then you have already lost, the Vrin said simply. You just don't know it yet. On Earth, Elena Volkov sat in the command center watching reports from across the globe. The Dominion was requesting surrender terms. They actually thought they were winning. Admiral Chen approached her, his face grave. "Madam Secretary, our intelligence has confirmed the Dominion is bringing up a planet-killer weapon with the Hammer Fleet. They're going to threaten to destroy Earth if we don't surrender." Elena nodded slowly. She had been expecting this. "Then it's time," she said quietly. "Activate Luna Base, wake up the Escaton engine." Around the command center, people stopped what they were doing. Some looked relieved. Others looked horrified. "Ma'am," Admiral Chen said carefully, "are you certain? We swore we'd never use that weapon again. Not after what it did in the Unity War. They're going to kill our planet, Admiral. We don't have a choice anymore." "We warned them," Chen said, "not a question but a statement." "Twice," Elena confirmed. "We gave them every chance to leave. They chose this." On the dark side of Earth's moon, hidden in the deepest crater, something ancient stirred. Humanity had built the Escaton engine during their darkest hour, when they nearly destroyed themselves in the Unity War of 2089. It was a weapon so terrible that after using it once, humans had banned themselves from ever building another. But they had kept the first one, just in case. Commander Velrin received an alert from his science officer. Something was happening on Earth's moon. Energy readings were spiking to impossible levels. Space itself was beginning to bend. "What is that?" Velrin demanded. No one had an answer. They were about to learn why humanity had stopped fighting themselves. They were about to learn what happened when you forced peaceful beings to remember they were warriors. The space around Earth's moon began to shimmer like heat waves on a summer day. Commander Velrin watched his instruments go crazy, showing readings that shouldn't be possible. Energy levels were climbing beyond anything in the Dominion's databases. "Sir, whatever they're powering up, it's distorting space-time itself," his science officer reported, his voice shaking. "I've never seen anything like this. Is it dangerous to us?" Velrin asked. Before anyone could answer, the moon seemed to pulse. Reality bent. For a moment, Velrin could see through space itself, glimpsing things that hurt his mind. Then everything snapped back to normal. Except the Dominion planet killer was gone. The massive weapon, larger than most moons, had simply ceased to exist. Along with it, 300 support vessels had vanished. No debris, no energy signature, just gone as if they had never been there. "Report!" Velrin shouted. "What just happened?" "The weapon. It created a controlled singularity," the science officer whispered. "They collapsed space around the planet killer and swallowed it into a black hole, then let the singularity evaporate." "Sir, the amount of energy control required to do that, the precision, it's impossible." "Clearly not," Velrin said, his mouth dry. "If humans can do it." The Hammer Fleet panicked. 5,000 ships suddenly didn't seem like enough. Captains began receiving contradictory orders. Some were told to maintain position. Others were ordered to retreat. The fleet formation, so perfect before, began to scatter. And that's when Earth's real fleet emerged. They had been hiding in plain sight. Cargo vessels suddenly revealed themselves as carriers. Mining ships opened up to release fighters. Civilian transports dropped their disguises and powered up weapons that made Dominion guns look primitive. "Sir, we're detecting over 2,000 combat vessels," the tactical officer said. "They were camouflaged as non-military ships. We never saw them coming." Velrin realized his mistake too late. Humans didn't fight with honor. They didn't announce their strength. They didn't play by any rules the Dominion understood. They fought to win, using every dirty trick their violent history had taught them. The human fleet didn't engage in glorious battle. They used ambush tactics, false retreats that lured Dominion ships into traps, psychological warfare broadcasting the screams of dying Zarketh soldiers. They targeted command ships first, cutting the head off the snake. And most disturbing of all, they seemed to know exactly where every Dominion vessel would be before it got there. As if they could predict the future. Lieutenant Krell, still on the ground in Moscow, understood. He was sitting with a group of captured Dominion soldiers. A human soldier was guarding them, a young man who looked barely old enough to fight. Krell asked him how they always knew where the Dominion would attack. The human smiled sadly. "Game theory, probability matrices, and 5,000 years of recorded warfare. We've been fighting each other for so long that we understand tactics better than anyone. Your commanders use strategies from a textbook. We wrote that textbook, fought against it, and learned how to beat it centuries ago." "But why?" Krell asked. Why are you so good at war? The human guard sat down, his weapon resting across his knees. You want to know about Earth? Real Earth, not the pretty pictures from space? He gestured around them. Even in the ruined city, Krell could hear sounds. Animals calling in the distance. Something howling. The human saw his expression and laughed bitterly. Yeah, those are wolves, predators. They hunt in packs just like we learned to do. You see, Earth has polar bears that can smell prey from 20 miles away. We have big cats that can kill prey 3 times their size. We have snakes with venom that stops your heart in minutes. We have spiders, insects, diseases, plants that can kill you just by touching them. The human looked up at the stars. We didn't evolve to explore space. We evolved to survive hell. Every single day of human evolution was spent learning how to not die. And when we ran out of natural predators to fight, we started fighting each other. 2 world wars. Hundreds of smaller ones. We got so good at killing that we nearly wiped ourselves out. Then why did you stop? Krell asked quietly. Because we finally scared ourselves more than anything else scared us, the human said. In 2089, we fought what we call the Unity War. Bioweapons, AI weapons, climate warfare. We destroyed half the planet. 4 billion people died. When it was over, we looked at what we'd done and realized we had to change or we'd destroy ourselves completely. He stood up, checking his weapon. So we made peace with each other. We built one government. We put away our worst weapons. We tried to become better than what we were. And it worked. For 150 years, we had peace. The human looked at Krell with eyes older than his young face. Then you came and reminded us what we are. We tried to warn you. We begged you to leave, but you didn't listen. And now we have to be monsters again, just to survive. Back in space, the Galactic Council was in chaos. The Vin Elder had shared the full history of humanity with the Council. Now ambassadors were demanding answers from the Dominion. You invaded a species that fought 2 global wars and survived? The Tilani ambassador shouted. A species that nearly destroyed their own planet and still managed to unite. We didn't know, the Dominion ambassador protested. The information was classified, buried in old archives. You didn't know because you didn't look, the Vin Elder said coldly. You assumed, like every empire assumes, that primitive meant weak. You learned the oldest lesson in the galaxy. The most dangerous prey is the one that fights back. On Earth, Secretary General Volkov received a transmission from the Galactic Council. They wanted to mediate. They wanted peace talks. They wanted the fighting to stop before more species got involved. Volkov agreed to a video conference. When her image appeared in the council chambers, many of the aliens recoiled. She looked tired, worn down by the weight of command, but her eyes were steel. You want us to stop fighting? She asked. We tried not to fight. We warned them twice. They destroyed our orbital defenses. They invaded our cities. They killed our people. They brought a weapon to destroy our entire world. The Dominion has made mistakes, the council mediator said carefully. But continued war serves no one. What are your terms for peace? Volkov's expression didn't change. We don't want war. We never wanted war. 150 years ago, we stopped fighting each other. We thought we'd evolved past violence. We built museums to remember our wars, hoping we'd never fight again. She paused, and her next words were heavy with regret. But you can't evolve away from millions of years of survival instinct. You can't erase the fact that humans became the dominant species on Earth because we were better at organized violence than anything else that ever lived. We buried that part of ourselves, hoped we'd never need it again. And now? The mediator asked. Now you've dug it back up. Every weapon we locked away, every strategy we promised never to use again, every dark instinct we tried to suppress. You made us remember what we spent a century trying to forget. The council chamber was silent. Volkov continued, her voice soft but carrying a weight that made hardened warriors uncomfortable. Do you know what our oldest military saying is? If you want peace, prepare for war. We prepared. We built defenses. We trained soldiers. We kept our weapons ready, even though we prayed we'd never use them. And when you came, we gave you a choice. We warned you. We begged you. We told you to run. She leaned forward, looking directly at the camera. You chose wrong. What will you do now? The Vin Elder asked. What we have to do, Volkov said. What we've always done when pushed into a corner. We'll fight until you can't fight anymore. We'll adapt to every strategy you use. We'll turn your advantages into disadvantages. We'll make you regret every ship you sent, every order you gave, every moment you decided we weren't worth your mercy. The transmission ended. The council sat in stunned silence. Commander Velrun received new orders from the Dominion Emperor himself. Pride wouldn't allow retreat. The Empire's reputation demanded victory. He was to use every resource available to crush humanity. Velrun looked at the orders and felt sick. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He had never lost a campaign, but he had never fought anyone like humans before. His intelligence officer approached with new information. "Sir, we've intercepted human military communications. They're planning something called Operation Exodus." "They're evacuating?" Velrun felt a spark of hope. "We don't think so, sir. The communication patterns suggest it's offensive, not defensive. But we can't break their encryption to get details." Velrun had a terrible feeling he knew what was coming. Humans didn't fight defensively. They never had. Even when losing, they found ways to strike back. Operation Exodus wasn't about running away. It was about bringing the war to the Dominion's doorstep, and humanity was very good at war. The Dominion Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by advisors who told him only what he wanted to hear. Victory was certain, they said. Humanity would break soon. The Empire's honor would be restored. None of them mentioned the 15,000 soldiers dead. None of them talked about the 3 staging worlds humanity had destroyed. "Deploy the stellar converter," the Emperor commanded. "Aim it at their sun. Give them one final chance to surrender, then destroy their entire system if they refuse." The stellar converter was the Dominion's ultimate weapon. It could destabilize a star, causing it to go supernova. Every planet in the system would be destroyed. It had only been used twice in the Empire's history, both times against species who fought to the very end. The weapon was moved into position, hiding behind one of the gas giants in Earth's outer system. It would take 3 days to charge. Then Earth would have 12 hours to surrender, before their sun killed them all. Commander Velrun received the orders and felt his soul die a little. He had been a soldier, not a murderer. This was genocide. But orders were orders, and the Emperor's word was law. He sent the ultimatum to Earth. Surrender in 12 hours or die. On Earth, in the command center, Elena Volkov read the message. Around her, people waited for her response. Some were crying. Others looked angry. All of them looked to her for leadership. "They're going to kill our son," Admiral Chen said quietly. "Even if we evacuate every ship we have, we can't save 8 billion people in 12 hours. "I know," Elena said. She stood up, her decision made. "Launch Operation Exodus. All 6 stealth ships. Target the Dominion homeworld." The room went silent. Someone whispered, "That's assassination." "That's justice," Elena corrected. "They chose to make this a war of extinction. We're going to show them what extinction really means." Lieutenant Krell, still on Earth's surface, had been transferred to a human prison camp. It wasn't like Dominion prisons. The humans gave them food, medical care, even entertainment. They were treated well, almost kindly. A human officer came to interview him. She sat down across from him, offering him coffee. "Real coffee, not the synthetic stuff." "Why do you treat us so well?" Krell asked. "We invaded your world." "Because you're prisoners, not enemies anymore," the officer said. "There's an old human saying, 'Don't hate the soldier, hate the war.' You were following orders. We understand that." "Many of us were soldiers once too." "Were?" Krell asked. The officer smiled sadly. "I was in the army for 10 years. Then we had peace and I became a teacher, taught history to children. I loved it. Then your fleet came, and they called us all back. Every retired soldier, every person who ever wore a uniform. We came back because we had to." She sipped her coffee. "Do you know what we teach children about war now? We tell them it's the worst thing humans ever created. We show them the museums, the memorials, the graveyards. We make them understand that war is failure, that every battle fought is proof we failed to find a better way." "Then why are you so good at it?" Krell asked. "Because we had to be," she said. "Because our world tried to kill us every day. So we learned to kill first. Because we fought each other for thousands of years and learned every lesson the hard way. Because we're really, really good at learning from our mistakes." She stood up to leave, then paused. "Your emperor is about to make a big mistake. He's going to threaten to destroy our sun. What he doesn't understand is that we already planned for this. We knew someone might try it someday, so we built countermeasures and consequences. 6 human ships slipped through space like shadows. They were built using technology humanity had developed but never deployed, too afraid of what it represented. Each ship was smaller than a Dominion fighter, but they were invisible to every sensor the Empire possessed. They traveled through hyperspace using a method that shouldn't work according to Dominion physics. They could have used it to flee, to evacuate Earth's population. Instead, they used it to bring the war to the Emperor's doorstep. The ships emerged in the Zarketh home system, the heart of the Empire. The Dominion homeworld, capital of 10,000 conquered worlds, lay below them. It had never been attacked, never been threatened. It was the safest place in the known galaxy. Until now, the human ships didn't target the planet. They targeted the palace, the military command centers, the Emperor's private retreat. Surgical strikes, precise and devastating. They weren't trying to conquer. They were sending a message. On the Eternal Conquest, Commander Velrin received an emergency transmission from the homeworld. The Emperor's palace was under attack. Human forces had somehow penetrated the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. How? Velrin whispered. How did they get past our defenses? His science officer pulled up the data. Sir, they're using some kind of quantum displacement drive. Our sensors can't even detect them until after they've already attacked. It's like they're not fully in normal space, Velrin understood then. Humans hadn't used their best technology to defend Earth. They had saved it for offense. While the Dominion threw everything at Earth's defenses, humanity had held back their most advanced weapons for a counterstrike. It was brilliant. It was terrifying. It was exactly what a predator species would do. The Galactic Council convened again, this time in emergency crisis mode. The Vrin Elder spoke, and this time there was something like respect in their ancient voice. Let me tell you about the Unity War, the Elder said, the conflict that almost destroyed humanity. We watched it from afar, documenting it for our archives. It lasted 3 years. In that time, humans deployed weapons we didn't know were possible. The Elder showed footage, captured by Vrin observation posts. Cities destroyed by engineered plagues, coastlines drowned by climate weapons, AI warfare that turned machines against their creators. The devastation was complete. 4 billion humans died, the Elder continued, half their population. They poisoned their own atmosphere. They irradiated vast areas of their planet. They created weapons that could have destroyed all life on Earth. And they stopped, someone said. They stopped because they scared themselves, the Elder explained. Humans have an interesting trait. They can look at what they've done and feel horror. They can choose to be better than what their instincts tell them to be. After the Unity War, they chose peace. They locked away their worst weapons. They promised never to use them again. The Elder's image seemed to grow darker. But they didn't destroy those weapons. They kept them just in case. And now the Dominion has given them a reason to open that vault. On Earth, Elena Volkov stood before the camera, addressing the Galactic Council directly. Behind her, through the windows, the moon was visible. The Escaton engine was still active, still bending space, still ready to defend Earth. The Dominion Emperor has ordered a stellar converter to destroy our sun, she said calmly. In response, we have launched Operation Exodus. 6 human ships are currently in the Zarketh home system. They are not attacking civilians. They are not destroying cities. They are targeting the leadership that chose this war. She paused, letting that sink in. We are offering terms. The Emperor and his war council will surrender themselves for trial. They will stand before this council and answer for their crimes. In exchange, we will not retaliate against the Dominion people. We will not destroy their homeworld. We will not do to them what they tried to do to us. And if they refuse, the council mediator asked. Elena's expression didn't change. Then we will show them why humans stopped fighting each other. Not because we became weak. Not because we forgot how to fight. But because we became so good at war that we could destroy entire worlds and we chose not to. Commander Velrin received a private communication. It was from Elena Volkov, sent directly to his ship. Commander Velrin, I want to speak with you. Not as enemies, as soldiers who understand the cost of war. Against his better judgment, Velrin accepted. Elena's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired, older than her years. Why did you warn us? Velrin asked. In the beginning, you told us to leave. You could have ambushed us, could have destroyed our fleet before we even knew you were a threat. Why warn us? Elena was quiet for a long moment. Because we remember what war costs. Every name on every memorial. Every child who grew up without parents. Every city we had to rebuild. Every mistake we made, every life we threw away, every moment of peace we destroyed. We remember all of it. She leaned forward. We warned you because we hoped you'd be smarter than we were. We hoped you'd see the cost and choose differently. We gave you mercy because we wish someone had given it to us 100 years ago when we were destroying ourselves. We didn't listen, Velrin said quietly. No, Elena agreed. You didn't, and now both our peoples will pay the price. The stellar converter reached full charge. In the Zarketh home system, human ships moved into attack position. Across the galaxy, 1,000 species held their breath, waiting to see if this war would destroy two civilizations or find a way to peace. The next 12 hours would decide the fate of humanity and the Dominion both. The Emperor's throne room had stood for 3,000 years, built from materials that could withstand anything. But it had never been built to withstand humans. Secretary General Elena Volkov walked through the shattered doors, flanked by 6 human soldiers. Behind them, smoke rose from destroyed defense systems. The Emperor's elite guards lay unconscious, taken down with weapons that didn't kill but disabled. Humans had learned long ago that dead enemies created martyrs. Captured enemies could stand trial. The Emperor sat on his throne, trying to look dignified despite the fear in his eyes. Around him, his war council stood frozen, watching these primitive creatures who had done the impossible. I am Elena Volkov, Secretary General of Earth, she said calmly. You are under arrest for war crimes, genocide, and crimes against sentient beings. You will stand trial before the Galactic Council. You cannot arrest an emperor, he said, his voice shaking. I rule 10,000 worlds. Not anymore, Elena replied. Your stellar converter has been disabled. Your military command structure has been captured. Your war is over. The Emperor's hand moved toward a hidden control. One of the human soldiers was faster, stepping forward and removing the device before the Emperor could activate it. Don't, the soldier said quietly. We know about the dead man's switch. We disabled it 3 minutes ago. The Emperor stared at the humans with growing horror. How? How did you penetrate every defense, bypass every security system, predict every countermeasure? Elena sat down on the steps leading to the throne, suddenly looking very tired. Because we've fought wars like this before. Against enemies we understood better than you understand us. Against ourselves. She gestured for the Emperor to come down from his throne. When he didn't move, the soldiers gently but firmly brought him down to her level. Let me tell you a story, Elena said. 158 years ago, humans almost destroyed themselves. We call it the Unity War, the last global conflict. We used weapons so terrible that we frightened ourselves into peace. The Emperor listened despite himself. Elena continued, her voice soft but carrying weight. We had artificial intelligence that could hack any system, bioweapons that could target specific genetic markers, climate weapons that could destroy entire continents. And we used all of them against each other. 4 billion people died. Our planet was dying. We were weeks away from complete extinction. Then you surrendered? The Emperor asked. No, Elena said. We came together. We realized that the only enemy we couldn't defeat was ourselves. So we stopped fighting. We built one government. We shared all our technology. We took every weapon we'd created and locked them away with a promise never again. She stood up, facing the Emperor directly. But we didn't destroy those weapons. We kept them, maintained them, improved them, because we knew that someday someone might come to Earth and threaten everything we'd built. We hoped it would never happen. We prayed for it, but we prepared. All of this was planned. The Emperor's voice was barely a whisper. The moment your ships entered our system, every human government activated war protocols we hoped we'd never use. The Escaton engine on our moon. We built it during the Unity War. It nearly destroyed our solar system when we first tested it. We've been too afraid to use it again, until you gave us no choice. Elena pulled out a data pad showing the Emperor footage. The stellar converter, the weapon meant to destroy Earth's sun, was surrounded by human ships. Not attacking it. Protecting it. Your weapon is disabled, Elena explained. But we didn't destroy it. We're going to give it back to you, along with all your soldiers, all your ships, everything you brought to Earth. Because we don't want your empire. We don't want your worlds. We just want you to leave us alone. Then why the trial? The Emperor asked. Because someone has to answer for the billions who died. The Dominion citizens on your staging worlds. The humans killed in your invasion. The soldiers on both sides who died following orders. Someone has to stand before the galaxy and explain why this war happened. The Galactic Council convened in full session for the first time in 500 years. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was so crowded that many had to attend virtually. Commander Velrin stood in the defendants area, along with the Emperor and the War Council. They were not in chains, not imprisoned. Humans had simply asked them to attend, and they had agreed. What else could they do? The trial lasted 3 days. Evidence was presented. Witnesses testified. The Vrin Elder provided historical context about humanity that made many species uncomfortable. Humans are not unique because they are violent, the Elder testified. Many species have violence in their history. Humans are unique because they made violence into an art form, then chose to put that art away. They became the deadliest species in the galaxy, then decided that being deadly wasn't enough. They wanted to be better. Lieutenant Krell testified about his time on Earth, about the human who could have killed him but chose mercy instead, about the prison camps where enemies were treated with dignity, about humans who cried for their own dead, and for the Dominion soldiers they'd been forced to kill. They didn't want this war, Krell said. They begged us to leave. They gave us every chance. And when we forced them to fight, they fought not with hatred but with sadness, like killing us hurt them too. On the final day, Elena Volkov stood before the council to deliver Earth's statement. We do not ask for the Dominion's destruction, she said. We do not seek revenge. We ask only for 3 things. First, the Dominion must dismantle 90% of its military. You will keep enough to defend yourselves, but not enough to threaten others. Second, you will pay reparations to the families of all who died, human and Dominion alike. Third, you will sign a treaty recognizing Earth as a sovereign world, never to be contacted again unless we initiate contact. And in return, the council mediator asked, in return, we will share one thing with the galaxy, not weapons, not military technology, but the lesson we learned the hard way. War is easy. Peace is hard. Being strong is easy. Choosing mercy is hard. Any species can destroy. The real challenge is learning when not to. The council voted. The terms were accepted. The Emperor was stripped of his power, replaced by a council of Dominion citizens who had opposed the war. Commander Velrin was pardoned for following orders but retired from military service. 10 years passed. Lieutenant Krell, no longer a lieutenant, lived on Earth. He had requested permission to stay after the war ended. He wanted to understand the species that had defeated his empire, then offered mercy. He became a historian studying human warfare. The more he learned, the more he understood why the Dominion had lost. Humans had fought wars for 5,000 recorded years. They had made every mistake possible, learned from all of them, and written everything down. Krell wrote a book about the war. It became required reading in military academies across the galaxy, not because it taught how to fight humans, because it taught why you shouldn't. The final chapter was called The Warning. In it, Krell wrote about that first broadcast when Elena Volkov had asked the Dominion to leave. She told us to run, Krell wrote, not because humans were cruel, not because they wanted to frighten us, but because they knew exactly how the war would end. They had fought it before against themselves. They knew the cost. They knew the pain. They knew that winning wouldn't feel like victory. We didn't listen. We thought the warning was empty pride from a weak species. We were wrong. Humans warned us because they remembered what we hadn't learned yet. There are no winners in war. Only survivors. On Earth, Elena Volkov had retired. She lived in a small house by the ocean, far from the command centers and the memories. But she kept a copy of Krell's book on her shelf. Sometimes at night she would stand on her porch and look up at the stars. Ships passed overhead occasionally, but they never stopped. Earth had placed warning beacons across their entire system, broadcasting the same message in every known language. Earth, sovereign territory. We sought peace. We found war. We ended it. Don't make us remember what we are. The galaxy had learned the lesson. Humanity was left alone, but the humans never forgot. Every school taught the history of the Dominion War. Every child learned about the cost of peace and the price of violence. The museums that honored their own wars added new sections for the Dominion War, where human and Zarketh names were listed side by side. One memorial, built in the ruins of Moscow where some of the worst fighting had occurred, carried an inscription in both languages. Here stood humans and Zarketh. Here they fought. Here they died. Here they learned that enemies are not born, they are made, and what is made can be unmade. Deep in the Luna base, the Escaton engine lay dormant once more. Engineers maintained it, keeping it ready, hoping they would never need to use it again. Above the control room, someone had carved words into the metal. Never again. But if we must, then we will. The galaxy moved on. New conflicts arose and were resolved. Trade routes opened between Earth and other worlds, carefully monitored and controlled. Humanity shared their art, their music, their literature, but they never shared their weapons. The Vrin Elder visited Earth once more 50 years after the war. Elena Volkov was long dead by then, but her successor met with the ancient being.